All right, picture this. You're standing at the counter of your favorite coffee shop. Or maybe you're a teenager sitting on the couch, tapping buy now for a new video game. Or a grandparent carefully typing in details to buy plane tickets to visit family. You tap your card or you click submit, the machine beeps, a little green check mark pops up, you grab your coffee, your game downloads, your tickets are booked, and you just go on with your day. The whole thing takes, about 1.5 seconds? But what actually happens in that blink of an eye? Well, behind that simple beep is this invisible, globe-spanning relay race that kicks off the exact millisecond your card makes contact. Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're diving into the millisecond relay, the engineering of digital payments. I am absolutely thrilled to be with you today because we are going to unearth and dissect one of the greatest technological illusions in our daily lives. Whether you're a software engineer building complex systems or just someone who uses a debit card to buy groceries without a second thought, the invisible machinery we're about to look at is going to completely change the way you see your money.
Okay, let's dive right into this. The illusion of the instant payment is one of the greatest magic tricks of modern engineering. Really let that sink in for a second. When you tap that card or your phone, it genuinely feels like the money immediately jumps straight from your bank account right into the store's cash register. It feels physical, right? It feels immediate, but that is a carefully designed, beautiful illusion. What feels like a direct, instant transfer of cash is actually a highly orchestrated, split-second magic trick involving multiple massive financial institutions.
Phase 1. The cast of characters. Before we even start the clock on our 1.5-second sprint, we need to establish the foundational team required to make this everyday transaction happen, because it's rarely just you and the cashier. There are 5 main players in every single transaction. Let's ground this with a simple analogy so it's super easy to picture, no matter your tech background. You, the cardholder, and the store, the merchant, are the 2 endpoints. You want a coffee. They want your money in exchange. Simple enough. In the middle, we have the payment gateway and processor. Think of them as a hyper-fast digital courier running between locations. Then we have the card network, like Visa or MasterCard, acting as the global switchboard connecting everyone. And finally, the banks. Your personal bank is the issuing bank. They issued the card to you. The merchant's bank is the acquiring bank. They're trying to acquire the money for the store. Every single time you buy a coffee, all 5 of these players have to talk to each other. Which brings us to phase 2, the millisecond sprint. Let's start the clock and see exactly how fast this conversation happens. Brace yourselves because we are moving at literal light speed here. At 0 milliseconds, the capture happens. You tap, your device securely packages the data and sends it out. By 200 milliseconds, the gateway steps in, acting as our digital courier, formatting the data perfectly and handing it to the processor. At 400 milliseconds, the processor looks at the first few digits, realizes it's a Visa or an Amex, and fires it off to that network switchboard. The switchboard instantly routes it to your specific bank. Now, by 800 milliseconds, your issuing bank gets the request. By 1200 milliseconds, a decision is made and fired all the way back down the exact same chain. And at 1500 milliseconds, beep, approved. All of that literally bouncing across the world and back before you can even take a single breath. I want to pause for just a second right at that 800 millisecond mark. What on earth is happening in that tiny fraction of a second when your bank gets the request? Well, your bank's automated servers are furiously running 3 massive checks. First, the math. Do you actually have the money in your account or the available credit limit? Second, the security. Is the CVV code and expiration date actually correct? And third, the fraud check. Does this purchase even make sense for you? Like, if you normally buy a coffee in Mumbai on a Tuesday morning, but suddenly try to buy a $3,000 TV in London 10 minutes later, yeah, the system flags it. And all of this heavy math and logic happens in mere milliseconds. So moving on to phase 3, the secret engines. This leads us to the most natural question you're probably asking yourself right now. How does this incredibly complex process happen at light speed without getting hacked? The answer lies in our first secret engine, tokenization. If you use Apple Pay, Google Pay, or a saved card on a website, your actual 16-digit card number is not sent over the internet. Not at all. Instead, the system generates a random string of characters, a token, that represents your card for that one specific transaction only. It's essentially a clever, one-time secret code. Even if a hacker miraculously intercepts the data midair, they just get a useless string of gibberish that can literally never be used again. Your actual permanent card number stays locked safely away in a digital vault.
Now, remember that fraud check we talked about? Your bank does not have a human sitting at a desk reviewing your coffee purchase. That would be impossibly slow. It is entirely automated by advanced machine learning. In a tiny fraction of a millisecond, artificial intelligence assigns your transaction a precise fraud score from 1 to 99. If the number ticks too high based on the risk, the transaction is instantly killed before it even finishes processing. To generate that score, the AI instantly assesses hundreds of surprising behavioral data points. It looks at your device's IP address. It literally looks at your typing speed if you're shopping online. It checks your exact physical location, the time of day, and the specific risk profile of the merchant you're buying from. It weaves all of these subtle behavioral threads together to decide if it's really you, all before you've even blinked. Honestly, it knows your habits better than you do, just to keep you safe. But even with brilliant AI and secure tokens, we still have a very physical problem to solve: distance. To a normal person, 1.5 seconds is incredibly fast. But to a network engineer, 1.5 seconds is an absolute eternity. So how do they guarantee the speed over thousands of miles? Well, payment processors and card networks literally lay their own private, dedicated fiber optic cables right next to the major data centers of the world's biggest banks. They completely bypass the standard crowded internet to eliminate what are called network hops, which is just the time it takes data to jump between different servers. By laying physical cables right next to the banks, they guarantee your transaction travels at the absolute maximum speed of light, completely unimpeded by everyday internet traffic. And finally, Phase 4, the ultimate plot twist. We've seen the cast of characters, the millisecond sprint, and the secret engines. But prepare yourselves. I need you to lean in closely for this next part, because everything we just talked about is only half the story. Here is the plot twist. When the machine beeps and you see the word approved pop up, 0 actual money has moved. Literally none. What happened in those 1.5 seconds was strictly an authorization. Your bank simply looked at your account and placed a freeze on those funds, promising the merchant that the money exists and is reserved for them. Think of it like putting a reserved sign on a table at a restaurant. You haven't eaten the meal yet, but the spot is securely held for you. The real movement of cash, that happens 24 to 48 hours later during a process called settlement. Every night, the merchant's payment processor bundles up all the thousands of approved promises from the day and sends them to the banks in one massive batch. It's only then, behind the scenes, in the dark of night, that the banks quietly shuffle the actual millions of dollars between their institutional vaults. It really is this beautiful, chaotic, highly engineered system. It's just amazing to think that every time you buy a coffee, or purchase a game, or book a flight, you are literally commanding artificial intelligence, global fiber optic networks, and massive financial institutions to perfectly execute a synchronized dance, all so you can get on with your day. So, as we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with a thought. The next time you tap your phone to pay, remember the massive infrastructure working tirelessly in the background. And ask yourself, if the instant payment is just a beautiful 1.5-second illusion, what other technological magic tricks are quietly running our world, right there in your pocket?